Hey guys, what's up? It's Jake, and today we're going to be talking about how to start off in Player Unknowns Battlegrounds. Now, I made a video called How to Start Off in DayZ Standalone a few months ago, and it did very well, and a lot of people appreciated just some basic knowledge on how to kind of overall start off in the game. And today we're going to do the same thing, talking about, except a different game, and that is Player Unknowns Battlegrounds. So the first thing that kind of happens when you join the game, besides the main loading lobby, is where you're going to choose a place to land. Now, each game can be different in an idea of, whether it's foggy, rainy, sunny, sunset. I think those are the only four options. And sure, you might choose a different place to land based off of based off the weather. Although in general, I honestly land I land in the same 3 to 5 spots the most often, and it doesn't really depend on the weather whatsoever. And that could just be me. And the first point I want to make is that there's really not a wrong place to land. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the benefits of, different people's views on places to land. So, so let me give you benefits and negatives. So, before I go into what I personally think. So, a lot of times some people think that landing at, a small set of 3 to 4 houses is really good because, sure, you get all the 3 or 4 houses to yourself, and then you're kind of safe because, worst case scenario, we're talking solos here, worst case scenario, one other person lands with you there, maybe 2, and in fact, with all these sets of 3 to 4 houses, it's not very likely that someone's going to land with you, right? Since, half the game lands at school. Okay, not really, but, a lot of people think that landing at these small 3 to 4 houses kind of places are the best because, like I said, it's fairly unlikely anybody goes with you. Now, to be honest, in my experience, this isn't actually the case. So, for instance, one place is called Farm, and to be honest, it's a pretty good loot spot. If you were to go there by yourself, you'd probably come out with a backpack and armor, a mix of levels 1 to 2, back and forth, and probably an AR with some meds. You'd come out decently set, not fully set, but decently set. And a lot of times that's the same for if you land at a set of buildings outside Milta, or if you land out, in Gatka. There's a lot of small sets of buildings there. If you guys don't know these terms, that's okay. They're just some smaller locations on the map of this island. Anyways, what I'm getting at is the problem is that if you land at, let's say, Farm, and it's just you and 2 other people, sure, if you would have gone to Pachinki, there might be 8 other people, but at this place, there's such a small amount of houses to go to that the odds of, you might go into a house and come out, and you may not have a gun. You may have a level 3 backpack and a level 3 helmet, 8 painkillers, 1,000,000 rounds for the best gun in the game. But guess what? When you walk out that front door, if you don't have a gun in your hands and your neighbor walks out with, I don't know, the fully automatic pistol, sucks to suck, you're dead. Doesn't matter if they didn't find any armor, any backpack, just ammo and a pistol, and if you didn't find that in your building at Farm, you're dead. And honestly, I've run into this situation quite a bit when it comes to these smaller buildings, and I'm not saying it's the worst case scenario, because honestly, let's say you're the neighbor guy that won that fight, you're kind of set, you're now alone at this place, you've got good loot, and now you've got the rest of it to loot to yourself, and you're going to move on, and by the time you leave your little base there and get to your next place to loot, maybe you're in the top 50 already. I'm just saying that the risk of that beginning game sucking is pretty high, and the other risk of that is that when, let's say you win the beginning game, or you come out of that farm with a lot of loot, you may run around for 20 minutes, and by the first person you see ever, you might die to, and you feel like you just wasted 20 minutes of your life. The benefit of going to a place like, let's say, Pachinki, even if 8 more people are going to Pachinki, the thing I like about it is, sure, you could say, oh my gosh, the same thing can happen at Pachinki. You come out of one of the buildings and your neighbor has a pistol and kills you. And well, yes, this is true, but guess what? If you're good at planning and you're good at landing at the specific houses you want to land at, this won't happen, or at least you can minimize the chance of it happening. So when you're flying into Pachinki, or any set of big amount of buildings, Pachinki, Yasnaya, Palanya, I may be pronouncing all these wrong, Rozhok, my personal favorite place to land, George Pool, or even, honestly, Military. Military is kind of, deemed this place of hell and no return, and everyone dies there, even though there's good loot. And honestly, if you can land at the right place and look around you and not land next to people, you'll be fine. So if you go to Pachinki and look around you, there's many, many, many houses there. And as long as you, in the radius around you, the 5 houses around your spot, nobody else lands, or just one person lands, you can honestly, be done looting 4 to 5 houses by the time you even see another human being, and by that time you'll be hearing other shots around the city, and you can as a new person, you can practice going to these shots, and even if you don't take the fight, sorry about that car outside, it's really loud, even if you don't take the fight, you can still, like, you can practice listening, like, to directional hearing. So you can say, okay, I hear shots. That sounds like those are at bearing 50, or those are, 400, not 400, but 45 meters away at bearing 37. That's really cool to practice that. And honestly, you can sneak up through these houses. There's lots of Rozhok and Pochinki are perfect places to sneak around and try to sneak up behind somebody who just got a kill, or sneak up on the middle of a fight and take somebody out, steal a kill, whatever. Perfect places to do that, and you get some more action and more interesting stuff happens in the beginning of the game versus spending 30 minutes of your life, just running to the circle like that. And that happens a lot at places, smaller sets of buildings, more outside towards the edges of the map. Like I said, they both have their benefits. You just need to decide, what are you looking for? Some more action and more loot, some more interesting stuff, then maybe you're going to want to land at Rozhok, Pochinki, Yasnaya Polanya military base, Georgepol, those kind of places. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll have a map on the screen and you can look for yourself in game. And if you're looking at some like really easy going, I want to live till the end of the game, even if I don't get a single kill kind of place, land at a set of 3 buildings in the middle of, butt-chuck nowhere, okay? And if you're looking for a place where you just want to practice PvP and hear gunshots nonstop and die within 3 minutes, hey, I'm telling you what, that's fun and that's good practice, actually, to an extent. So land at school, which is next to apartments, and right below Rozhok. Land at military base. Land at, honestly, you can land at Pochinki and just make sure you land next to somebody else. Land at Crater. These are all very good places to land and make sure you guarantee to fight, honestly. So that's kind of what I have to say about choosing a place to land. Okay, so next up is the actual looting section of what I have to say, and let me just sum this up by you need to loot AFAP. What does AFAP mean? That means as fast as possible. The faster you can check your buildings, that gives you a higher chance that you can beat your neighbor in a fight, or just plain and simple, is some more places you can check before you got to get a move on. Whether that's because every building's been looted around you, or it's just the fact that the circle's coming in and you got to move on to the next circle. The faster you can loot, the better, 100% of the time. I can't think of any reason you'd want to not loot as fast as you can. So practice getting good at, like, when there's a bunch of items together, don't just press F on one item hoping you get the right one. Press tab and grab only what you need. You don't want to be swapping out your level 3 backpack for a level 1 backpack and then spending another 30 seconds grabbing the right items because you had to drop a bunch on the ground. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that you are able to loot as fast as you can and that you can open doors fast, check what's inside, and get a move on. Also, you don't want to pick up every single thing you find. If you've got, if you've got a Kar 98 with a 4x or 8x scope, and then you've already got your, your Scar L for your close range weapon, or a UMP, which is a submachine gun, for your close range weapon, you don't need to be picking up 5.56 ammo, which is the green boxes, just because it's good ammo, which, yes, it's good ammo, but you're not going to be using that, so don't waste time getting it, unless you're extremely low on ammo for one of the other 2 guns, and you think you might be switching guns later. Don't always pick up everything you find. Make sure, and that builds on the point, let me build on that point and say that you should have a close-ish range weapon and a medium to longish range weapon. And sometimes this comes down to having an AK-47 for me as your closest range weapon, and maybe like an M16 as your long range weapon. Now that's not like my guns of choice, I'm just saying the AK-47 is actually pretty good indoors because it kills people pretty quick, but the M16 actually has a high velocity shot. That means you don't have to aim ahead of people as much as you would with like a SKS or a AK-47. So make sure you have a closest range and a medium to longest range. I know I like to pair. Honestly, I don't like shotguns too much. Some people love shotguns. They are easy kills sometimes, but if you miss that first shot and you got to pump, sometimes that's just enough time for the other person to kill you. And honestly, a lot of times, I personally generally prefer a submachine gun or some type of fast-firing assault rifle. Make sure you limit your grenades. You don't need 5 smokes and 5 hand grenades and 5 Molotovs. Maybe a couple of each, or a lot of your favorite kind. You honestly can't have too many boosts. Obviously you don't need more than 10, more than 8. But what's really nice is if you have a ton of them, just keep drinking them. That way you're always running fast and you're always regenning if the circle happens to catch up to you. And make sure to limit your band-aids too. It's tempting to grab as many meds as you always see because of course meds are good. But honestly, limit them to about 10. That's what I would like to say is about 10, 5 to 10, somewhere in there. And if you have a sniper, don't waste too much storage space on having that much ammo. If you have a Kar 98, you honestly don't need more than 40 shots. Honestly, I keep more than that usually on myself. I'm just saying that realistically, you don't need more than 40. Never have more than 100 ammo for a Kar 98. I'm serious. Leave that ammo there if you have a sniper rifle that takes 7.62 ammo. If you have an SKS, about 100 ammo is perfect, maybe a little bit more. Just saying, make sure you don't waste too much space on don't waste space storing ammo if you don't need it. Alright, next up is gunfights. So, to be honest, I can't truly improve your aim through this video, and you probably know that. I'm sorry, but I can't. This is going to have to be done by simply trying and failing and failing and failing, and then succeeding sometimes too in this game. So you're going to have to die a lot. You're going to have to shoot a lot of bullets to start to learn players' patterns, your gun patterns, what kind of skill you have personally. And honestly, to really improve your aim, you're going to have to play other games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, or basically any first-person shooter. These can basically help your reaction time when it comes to guns and your aim. Because honestly, in PUBG, you don't get to shoot that much. Especially as a beginner, you're probably going to have, if you do have a good game, that's probably 2 to 3 kills for you. And if you really think about it, you probably shot max maybe 45 rounds that entire game. By rounds, I mean you've shot 45 bullets that entire game, maybe, max. So, unless you have really, really bad aim. But what I'm getting at is that's not a lot of practice. Really in pub, a lot of your time is spent looting and running, which that's fun. But, like, shooting is the highlights, and that's the most important part in living. So you don't actually get to try that kind of stuff that much in PUBG unless, let me get on to my next point, you're landing in places like school or military or landing next to other people on purpose just to try and learn people's habits. I'm serious. PUBG is all about learning people's habits and learning your own habits. So you need to learn, what do people normally do when they know that I'm there? So like if people, I told you need to loot as fast as you possibly can. And guess what? Everyone else is doing that too. So if you see somebody run into a house, right, and then you run up to their house and you're going to wait for them to come down the stairs and shoot them, and they're not coming downstairs, and you're like, what are they doing up there? Don't then decide, I should probably sneak upstairs and kill them. That's not always the best decision. In fact, it's probably not the smartest decision. Because if somebody is not doing what a normal person would do, 99% of the time it's because they know you're there. Because if you know they're there, a lot of times they've heard you run up. You'd be surprised how much people listen in this game. And that moves me on to my next point, which is audio is as important as visuals in this game. Because honestly, I would say that more than half of the time, you're going to hear your enemy before you see them. Especially in cities / the early game. I just said slash out loud. My rule of thumb is it's honestly just, you need to play as smart as possible, but don't make the game boring. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to get to the last position in the game, you could land directly in the middle of the island and just like crawl around the woods the entire game, and you'd probably make it to the top 20 literally every single game. But that is not fun. You're never going to win, and you're only going to just get to that spot, and that's where you're going to be limited at. So don't play, that's not smartest, but that is the safest. You got to find a nice balance of fun and safe and smart all at the same time. And a lot of times the reason I win gunfights is not because I'm necessarily a better aim than that person. Sometimes it is that. But a lot of times it's because I'm letting them make a mistake. All I do is I get myself in the smartest place I can currently be, and I say, I'm safe from all angles to this person. Let them make a mistake. So they go in a building, they make too much noise, they jump out the wrong window, they don't close their doors, whatever. I see them bandaging. Wait for them to make a mistake. Then you take that advantage. If you're at a disadvantage, don't think to yourself, oh, screw this guy, I'm going to kill him always. You need to think, sometimes you just need to leave the scenario. Let's say somebody's held up inside a house right above some stairs. Honestly, if you have a third-person camera and you can look down some stairs, make sure you do that. If you're in a back room and you can hold an angle by looking through the third-person camera around a corner, a lot of times you can see the enemy and they can't see you. And that's why some people prefer first person. But I'm just saying, use that to your advantage if you are in third person. And that goes against you as well. So don't sneak up those stairs just because you know somebody's up there. They're going to be third personing you, and a lot of times they're going to win that fight. Sometimes walking away from the fight is the biggest victory, because going to that fight that could get you killed is, what's going to get you killed. End of story. Okay, so the last topic I want to talk about is winning the game. And to be honest, as a beginner, you should not expect to win games for a long time. Honestly, tons of people don't get their first solo win until they have 60, 70, over 100 hours in the game. Because let me tell you this, if you look purely at the numbers, you have a 1 out of 100 chance to win this game. That's, like I said, that's only if you're looking at the numbers and not taking in skill and decision making. So literally, the odds are never for you. They're never for you. You always have a very tiny chance of winning. Now, the odds, I'm serious, are never for you. So keep that in mind when you're never winning games. That's fine. That's normal. That's expected. The entire game of PUBG is trying to make the odds tip to your favor. So like I said, you have a 1 in 100 chance if you don't take in decisions. So like I said, make sure you land at a place that gives you better odds. Make sure you land, far enough away from other people, even if it's in the same city as them, just to give you better odds. Loot as fast as you possibly can to give you better odds. All these things tip the odds towards your favor. If we're talking about the end game, final 8 people, if that's what you're talking about when you want to know how to win the game, well, let me tell you this, I can't tell you how to win. This takes your own strategy of, sometimes you may literally have a shot on 2 players. Let's say you're hiding in a field and you see 2 players right in front of you. You could shoot them both, but let me tell you something. a lot of times you literally have to let both people live, just because if you shoot at the one of them, the other one will turn around and shoot you. And we're talking solos here. You sometimes have to make the decision to not take kills because the kill will get you killed by another person. These are the kind of things that make you win in the end game. The positioning is everything. A lot of times, even if you're in the final 8 and you have 15 million kills, I'm just kidding, you have 15 kills, you have 8 kills, whatever, you're doing fantastic, you have the most meds, the most guns, we have the biggest, I'm trying to act like Trump here, you got big water, whatever. It doesn't matter, because a lot of times the game comes down to random chance. If you are hiding behind a tree, and another guy away from you 200 meters is hiding behind a tree, and the next circle pops up, and guess what? You have to run through a field and move to his tree. Guess what? All of a sudden the odds are way in his favor. He has a 90% chance of winning, and when you see that, you need to think to yourself, alright, guess what? The odds are not in my favor. I'm most likely not going to win this game. You can tell yourself that. I know it doesn't motivate you. But for me, what it does is it sets me up to not be mad when I get killed. Because guess what? I should die. If this guy plays this right, he should win. And when you win those gunfights, the ones you shouldn't win, it's the best feeling in the world. There's small victories like that make this game super fun. Then what you have to do is think to yourself, what can I do to make this situation better? Do you have a smoke grenade? Can you smoke off the path you have to run, and then maybe the guy that has a shot in you can't shoot you? Can you throw a grenade to your left, and then when it explodes, that's when you take off running, so you distract him? Can you take a few pot shots at the guy, or, random shots, scare him off, and then run? I don't know. I'm just saying you need to think of all the things that can either trick your enemy, habits, break habits. That's, these are the kind of things that make you win in the end of the game. And to be honest, this video is not about winning the game, it's about starting off in the game. So if I want to make a video on winning, I'll maybe make another video on that. Let me know if you want that. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say about how to start off in Player Unknowns Battlegrounds. I probably missed a few things. That's probably expected. This game has a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in it, a lot of specialties. And if you have tips, make sure to drop them down in the comment section down below. I read every single comment. So make sure to drop a comment, drop a like, and drop a subscribe. And I hope to see all of you guys in my next video.